Welcome to Baseball Biz on Deck. I am Mark Corbett, and of course, is Mr. Matt Germain here as well. Yes, he is. And we are talking about the World Baseball Classic. Here, look, you've got your green on, don't you? It looks like a green shirt.
I do. Yep. I've got the grit and glow I'm sporting today
All
while
right.
watching the Rays and the Yankees face off here.
Oh my gosh, has that already started?
Yep. They're 1-1 in the good, I want to say the seventh, and Ryan Pepio looked great in this start. So that was really encouraging to see.
Playing at Steinbrenner or Port Charlotte today?
Steinbrenner. So
All
the
right.
Rays home stadium, obviously. So
Oh gosh. Well, they are going to be back in the Trop, and we are thankful for that. It's interesting thinking about changes, Matt. Last night I was at the Tampa Baseball Museum. We had a baseball historian by the name of Wes Singletary. He's also an author, written a few different books on baseball, and he's, I think, a professor at FSU too. But this guy, he is animated. Wes, if you're listening to this, we're not saying anything you don't know. But when he tells a story, I love it. He's one of those storytellers that his body completely comes into the story. And he is recounting games. He's recounting counts in a game, and
Hmm.
he's doing it with such passion that the whole crowd is sitting still, wrapped closely to every word that comes out. And it's like, wow, he's been on before on Baseball Biz on Deck, but it's amazing to see somebody who loves the game that much. Well, the reason I bring him up is before the whole thing started, we were chatting a bit. He said, "Did you see that last night? Did you see that game with the Dominican Republic?" He says, "Do you see that strike zone?" I said, "You mean there wasn't?" I didn't have to say anymore. I knew exactly what he was talking about. Perdomo there. Oh my gosh, ending the game for the DR, and a lot of folks, and myself included, were kind of pulling for them. Man, it was a great group of talent of players to see. Not to say that the U.S. didn't have a good one there, but my gosh, that was such a dream team.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun to watch. And I think, when you talk WBC, the exuberance of players is what attracts a lot of fans to it and what they'll speak about afterwards because it is more joyous than most baseball games that we watch, through the long grind of an MLB season. So the intensity per game is definitely amped up, and the Dominican Republic in particular always tend to feed off the energy of each moment that they go through in the game. And it's just how they grow up playing the game. That's how they behave, and that's how they see, the attraction towards baseball. And to be quite honest, we need more of that all the
Oh,
way through baseball. And what drove me nuts is the conversation of people afterwards, like, oh, this many bat flips, this many that, and zero, championship wins or whatever. So the negativity of the exuberance
yep.
really mystifies me. I don't get how people can be anti-joy. I don't
Anti-joy.
understand that. I don't relate to it. I think I'm saddened for those people
Oh yeah.
that feel like they need to point that out. There's something really, at the core wrong with those people.
Oh, I agree with you 100%.
Mm.
Just try something there here for a sec. But my gosh, yeah, it's like, what do you get into minutia that has very little to do with the game? What do you get into things that that it takes that aren't part of the passion that's happening? Oh my gosh, that's kind of disturbing to say the least to me. And it's like, come on, boys and girls, there's a better way of doing it, and this isn't it.
Hmm. Yep, but overall, the tournament's been really great. I think the face-off between the Venezuelans and the Americans is an interesting one, especially when you're looking at the political world that we live in. I think that the numbers in attendance have risen substantially in each location overall.
Yep.
So the tournament's only gathering more steam. There's more countries that showed up and had success. I think that, the positive side of things, there weren't um, any major mishaps that like put a drag on the tournament at all in any way, shape, or form.
Yep.
So I'm expecting 2029 to be a really good one. And it leads into something that I'm kind of wondering about, Mark. as uh, as the Rays are set to beg governments or counties or what say you
Yeah.
uh, for money to build their preferred location stadium after
Hmm.
being gifted, some land, and uh, and they're asking for this is reported $1.15 billion. Now, if for anybody that remembers what they were asking for from St. Petersburg, right? And
Yeah.
then the deal that they had come up with was less than half that, right? That they were supposed to get from St. Petersburg. So now we're talking more than double what they had requested from St. Petersburg. And I get from a certain angle where it's a much bigger endeavor, right? It's
Yeah.
not as small a an area that they're trying to develop, and there's more pieces involved in this that are all encompassing into one, thing. But when we're watching the WBC and we're seeing the benefits that Miami has gotten from hosting those events, they're saying that, each WBC that goes on, Miami gains about $200 million,
Hmm.
right? That's the city, the town, whatever.
Each
So
game?
no, the whole event.
Okay. Still,
Right? So
yeah, yeah.
each event. So if you're the Rays and you're trying to sell this to Tampa, Hillsborough, etc., that is the angle you use. You say, listen, we're in Florida, we're building this thing, we're going to be a perfect candidate to host the WBC in the
Right.
future. Each time that we are successful in that, we can bring in as much as $200 million. That's not the only event they'll be eligible for. We all know the MLB base All-Star game and the Midsummer Classic is also another big draw, and the Trop just wasn't going to cut it as
Yeah.
a, attractive city to bring that. The average, so I did the research on like from 2010 to 2025, the average seems to be around $100 million benefit to a city when they host the All-Star game. So let's say within the next 5 years after building a stadium, you know, Tampa hosts an All-Star game, and within the first 10 years, they host two baseball classics. Okay. Now you're talking $500 million that
Yeah.
you've added to the Tampa coffers. So that $1.15 billion, and the reason I say that, Mark, is in July, how busy is Florida? How many people, not
No,
very many.
no, no,
And
no.
then in March, if
Now,
you're
right now it's crazy because it's spring
yeah,
break week, but yeah, no.
but now you're drawing those people away from Miami and bringing them closer to Tampa. And so I think the Rays have a chance of actually, being able to sell this because of the building itself and the establishment of how the entertainment area is going to be. Because if you're going to sell it as we're going to host an All-Star game, people need to be able to be outside without sweating buckets in the middle of July, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to host that kind of event, having a venue where you can actually have everybody indoors for a significant period of time is really a solid design as compared to Miami, where, all of a sudden you're starting to talk, a little bit different atmosphere there in terms of the surrounding areas, I guess. So I think what the kind of build Tampa is aiming for is right. The amount of money is substantial, but I think
Hmm.
they can make it back feasibly within the next 20 years. Now, having said that, they're not going to be alone in bidding for those World Baseball Classics. Vegas is going to be building a heck of a stadium, and their location is going to be so. I think personally, Houston and Miami are going to lose a lot of attraction when it comes to venues for the World Baseball Classic in the future because everybody wants what's shiny and new. And like we said, if you're able to have everybody more indoors and a bigger event and amp it up, having both Tampa and Miami within a driving distance, all of a sudden that becomes a mecca for the WBC to have the two venues closer aligned. So then people can fly into that area and have access to two sites within driving distance. That is something that could also help the WBC amp things up even another level.
There's no doubt. And when you look at that, like you're saying, if you're doing a couple of 100 million, twice a year, so that would be that, and whatever else they bring in with other events. And I was saying about this after you brought this up earlier this today, and looking at one, you're going to have a stadium with a roof, okay, or at least can close. So obviously, this new Trop was going to have that, whatever you want to call the place. Um, so it's going to be state of the art. It's going to be fresh, like you said. It's going to be new, and people are looking for that. So I think you're on the money there. One thing I will say something about, Matt, is you said talking about what they were asking for over in St. Pete, but it wasn't what they were asking for. It's what Stu's group was asking for. And I I think people did kind of lost some love for Lou. Maybe this new group they'll have a little bit more, but that's still a lot of money. And I don't think that we haven't yet seen the issues that have surrounded the land at the Trop that they were trying to achieve with the business development around it. So, probably maybe it's more palatable. Um, the governor gave us 22 acres over there to start with, which had just stunned me. But I don't think you're going to see any money from the state. They were talking about a sales tax for this, adding a new sales tax. I don't know. I love the game. I want to see the Rays here, but I'll pay for it with a hot dog and a ticket and what I pay for TV to watch it. But I don't know that I want to put taxes in there too.
But here's the thing. If you don't build it, and Miami is just about to open their Miami, stadium for their professional soccer team in the MLS,
Yeah.
which was really pushed for by David Beckham. And what he's done there is insane magic in building in what used to be a golf area that nobody thought could be developed into what they are building because there was just so many environmental concerns with the ground and everything underneath. There's a whole documentary you can watch on YouTube about it, and the key factor with that was that they actually decided to develop 53 acres of it as outdoor living area and like parks and fields and all this kind of stuff, which is supposed to bring, people into it and to cool the area down. And so what I'm saying is you have the Miami Stadium there, you have the MLS Stadium, the Marlins Stadium. If Tampa doesn't move ahead with this proposal and the Rays get angry enough to move on, you're going to lose the Rays.
Yeah.
I feel like because they can get this elsewhere,
Oh,
and
no doubt.
that's where the train of thought needs to be from the city and from the county and everybody else is, okay, think of yourself as St. Pete, right? You had come to an agreement, you decided you're going to hold the line, and then you lost the team essentially because you held the line. The same thing happened in Montreal way back when. The same thing happened in elsewhere. There's a lot of examples of cities you can go to where they held the line, they weren't going to pour money into it from a public point of view, and they lost the team. So the question is, do you want to be an international city or do you want to be just another medium-sized American city?
Good point. Good point. I will tell you, last night when we were there at the museum, there's always banter about the Trop and the attendance. And the one thing I've heard before, it came out again, is that Tampa is all about baseball at collegiate, high school, and community ball. And that for people to think that they were ready to just jump into Major League Baseball, it wasn't there, is what they were. Some of them were saying that, and there was a few MLB players retired that were there and such, and I get that. But if you look at it, pardon me, if you look at it from a business perspective, and you look at it as far as like what Beckham's doing in Miami, and see it set aside baseball, would you think one way or another about it? Yeah, I still think it's going to be worthwhile, and it's just going to be whether the naysayers come out stronger than those that want to make it happen.
So th my point there as well is the Rowdies are in St. Pete, right?
Yep.
So at some point in time, because of the new system with this like the way that soccer is growing in the US, and eventually I think what you're going to see is a relegation system like what they have in the UK. So the Rowdies feasibly could end up one day being an MLS team. So when you're looking at the development that the Rays are proposing, it still leaves room nearby to add a soccer stadium where all of a sudden you can have your like it's something that Miami can't really compete with in terms of having everything co-located within such a small, you know, area in terms of hockey, football, baseball, soccer, where all of a sudden you're getting into this, you know, it's really insane where what it could lead to in the future if somebody has the vision enough to tie it all together with a bow.
Yeah.
Because essentially that's what you're starting to build. And I think Utah played with this a little bit with the basketball and the channel and everything else. Because then what happens is you can build your own network. Right? Sort of like, yes, what the Yankees do and everything else, but have it so huge because it contains all of those teams together that you're able to outcompete everybody else and you become a I don't know, uh, like nobody can compete above that because you're essentially putting yourself at the top tier. And so I don't know who owns what, but I do know this. The new Rays ownership are very good at making deals and at
Yeah.
making transactions to move up. I would not be surprised if at some point in time you see owners of the Buccaneers, Rays, and Lightning start owning shares in each other's companies and
Mm.
then having everything kind of meld together over time. And I'm not saying one will be king and one will be whatever. I don't know how it shakes out, but it just the synergy of all of that together with the Rowdies included, like at some point in time, if they were able to, you know, make the jumps up and to be substantial enough taker, that's where I see the value in the 1.15 billion that the county and everybody else would be putting in.
Yeah.
How they get that 1.15 billion, I have no idea. Some places get more creative than others and how they raise funding. But I do know that, you know, as somebody that has a business degree and has kind of studied a lot of real estate and everything else, I always look at cities in terms of cubes, right? So you've got like, let's say you've got one block, and Manhattan is the perfect example for this. You've got one block, you can put a house on it, a beautiful house, right? Tax it, yay, okay. You can put a medium-sized building where it's 3 stories. Well, you get three taxes that you're bringing in, right? And then all of a sudden you put a condo, you put a Trump Tower, you put whatever, you're supposed to be able to tax it at that amount, right? And get the benefit from it. But then if you're Trump and you're able to, you know, rig the tax system so that you're not paying any taxes, then so again, the Rays and everybody else are not going to be paying taxes on that piece of land, from what I gather. That's part of the deal that
Yeah.
they're going to propose. So the way that you have to value it then as a city is okay, what is it going to bring in terms of jobs, in terms of construction, in terms of long-term employment, utilities, all of the hotels and the whole, you know, I was just saying, like, if you're bringing people in July, if you're bringing people in whatever, and the synergy between all of the sports teams and events and venues that you're able to bring people into then what is that value? And you've got to do the numbers and crunch it out and say, okay, now that we have those numbers, what are the alternatives? Like USF and the Rays playing, you know, at George Steinbrenner Field or whatever. How much value is that bringing to you right now? And what are your options in developing it in other ways? Like, is it really, you
No.
know, I don't know. Like,
No.
does it exist? Is there something that's going to give you more?
I think I got the answer for this.
Hmm.
Yeah, it takes me back to an old movie called Office Space.
Mhm.
And in there, they basically took whatever extra penny was on each cell that went up. Because you know, here in the US, we're getting rid of the penny. So
About
everything,
time.
if it's $3.51, then you could take it up to $3.55, and that 4 cents goes toward the billions of dollars or millions of dollars rather that's going to go for the Rays, man. So Tampa needs to go ahead and institute that. We'll take everybody gather up the pennies they have at home, and then realize that when they go buy that hot dog for $3.51 at the convenience store, and hope you live through it, that that extra 4 cents, it was worth it because that's going to give you the raise.
Mhm. Yeah. You
Wow.
know, like we're heading towards a world, Mark, and I would advise people to think of it this way, right? Employment is disappearing at an alarming rate. AI and robots are going to take over employment,
Oh yeah.
right? So what's going to be left is entertainment. And so the more you can invest in entertainment and anything that has to do with the service industry, the healthier your city is going to be. There is no better investment for Tampa than that 1.15 billion. In fact, I would say it's cheap. I would double it and I would tell them make it fancy enough that it brings people from overseas over to see
Ooh.
it. Like make it like why do people go to Dubai? It's not because it's the most beautiful place in the world and it was a sand dune at one point in time, right? It's because they built attractions that you can't find anywhere else on Earth. I can go there and snowboard and then the next day go sandboarding and do the snowboarding on sand and I can have the most beautiful buildings on Palm Islands that were built on the water and a hotel that looks like a sail. And so my point would be, you know, if you sure you can add the 1.15 billion and sure it'll look good, but look at what Vegas is building for the
Oh yeah.
A's. Like, how does that compare to what the Rays are doing? I'll remember the A's one, and I will fly there to see it. And the same thing with their ball, right? The sphere.
Hmm.
Like, that's a statement. People will go to your city to see the sphere. So what are you going to build to compete against that in Tampa?
Hopefully it's not a chrome bean in the middle of the city, It's
Oh, no, I don't have the answer. But what I'm saying is like the 1.15 billion sounds like a lot of money, and it
yeah.
is. But if you spend it right and you do it right and you actually amp it up to the level that it needs to be fancy enough to be attractive enough. So I don't know if they can get some like architecture is a big thing, and I don't claim to understand it at all. There are things about it that make things attractive or not, and entertainment is the same way. Like I never would have conceived of the Sphere.
Yeah.
Tampa must have some people that they can go to and get advice on how this thing can be shaped to be more internationally attractive. You know what I mean? Like make it stand out in some way. Give it something unique that can actually, you know, make it more than an indoor place where baseball happens to get played.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of anything from like an art museum, but that's probably a stretch because it doesn't have to be tied to sports, right? I mean, it could be what could you do? I mean, it would have to be something so significant, whether it's the actual structure or what's within that structure that has appeal. We've got the man. I mean, it isn't 100 miles down the road. We've got the Disney right down there. We got the Universal. Uh, and the beach is on the other side. So what would we need to do that would be unique? It's not going to be another theme park. For that matter, we got Busch Gardens right down the road, not, 15, 20 miles.
Yeah, the one like I hate going down this road because I think it's a dangerous one to go on. But the one thing we know is that AI and virtual reality is becoming a huge thing. So
Yeah.
having some sort of virtual reality environment where you can actually experience things, that I don't know. Like it's one of those things where I've seen in Dubai and in different in Saudi Arabia as well, where they've built like in Saudi Arabia, they have this building that actually goes up and around and you can go up into the top level of it. And there's all of these futuristic, it's like a science museum essentially, but
Hmm.
it's showing you and it's constantly updated with the most latest tech, etc. So, there's things with that you can, and I think there's enough industry down in Florida about AI and universities that could support it, et cetera. And so then you're involving more than just the Rays, right? You're involving universities, you're involving the science, you're involving whatever. So I think there needs to be, some thought given to that. Like if you're going to dedicate a lot of money, let's say you go from 1.15 you're dedicating to 1.5 billion and you're adding 350 million. Well, what could that 350 million add to this environment and make it more than a shell of a building with entertainment in it?
I don't
That's
have an
all.
answer for you. Yeah, I hear you too, and I don't have an answer for you. I mean, my mind goes to green spaces too, and I don't know that green spaces in and of themselves would do the trick, but because we had so much of the other, and I see it with the AI, and I can go down a whole row with that on another show. Maybe I will, but there's someday I'll tell you about all the fun with AI in Florida lately.
Mm.
There's some interesting things going on, but are not going on. But I'd like to maybe come back, if you don't mind, to the World Baseball Classic,
Mm.
because I'm getting in too deep of this stuff. Because you know how much I like to talk about the potential stadium, man.
Your favorite subject, Mark. I thought about
Oh,
sending you a letter once a week, just updating you on.
thank you. What a good friend you are, I tell you.
You gotta have goals, Mark.
Oh, well, I've met mine for the day. I've met my quantity for talking about the stadium.
Mhm.
Oh, but no, I think there's good things here, and I do see the value of what you're recommending. So we'll
Mhm.
see. Maybe the city and the county will figure it out too. Um, my goodness, like I said, I've talked about Perdomo's little piece there, but we got to see some great folks on that DR team, and one we recognize who hit 45 home runs last year for the Rays.
Yeah, I mean, what a gem Junior Caminero is. Like
Oh,
going up against Paul Skeens in the biggest stage with his childhood uh, childhood idol on the bench,
yeah.
and going up there and taking somebody like Paul Skeens, probably one of the hardest pitchers to hit with authority, and he takes him deep. Like he made it. I don't want to say he made it look easy, but he just took a swing where he caught up to that pitch and just took it, the moment was basically like this to me. All I saw from as the ball left the bat were dollar signs, and it was going up higher and higher, and his agent was just going like Jerry Maguire, show me the money, right?
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Yeah, man.
And the
What,
more the Rays wait to make that to lock him in long term, the less likely it is that it happens.
well, you've said it time and again, show him the love now. And like you said, lock him in, and you probably get him at a decent long-term rate. My gosh. And once we can divest ourselves of that number five completely, we'll be even better. But my gosh, the talent of that young man and Skeens, who's basically held up into some pinnacle on doing, and he should to a degree. He's a fantastic pitcher. But it was interesting listening to the announcers last night, and they knew what they were. They knew it wasn't a David versus Goliath. It was a David and David both going to come head to head on here and make it happen. And Caminero, it was so beautiful watching him make that connect with that ball. There you go. There you go.
And I heard him talk in an interview today in their game, and he's speaking English now. He's not using the translator. And I gotta tell you, his voice is low. It's way lower than I anticipated hearing. And he talks really cool. And it's like
Oh,
he's really thinking about each word, but it's very, very low.
oh man, I can't wait to hear that.
I
Oh,
like it. And honestly, like, it's a big step for them to actually do it and speak in English. And I know it took Vladdy Guerrero Jr. a long time before he started, being comfortable enough to speak in English. So I commend him for that. And to me, for
yeah.
the Rays, it speaks to his maturity and it speaks to the fact that he's trying to get there and he'll keep improving over time the more he does it. He's still a young guy. So when I talk about like extending him, it's not just because he's going to be an outstanding player. We know that already. Like if you're hitting 45 home runs at the age that he did, like you're going to be a special player. But it's
Yeah.
also the type of person he is. He's that gel guy that people gravitate to that can, he can be to the Rays what Jose Ramirez is to the
Mhm.
Guardians. Like that's what I would compare it to. Like where he can just if go to the Guardians, you're getting quality because Jose is there. Well, Junior can be that for the Rays.
Well, I hope they do take care of that soon. I mean, pardon me. I hope they do take care of that soon because he is a phenomenal player, and I want him to be part of the Rays organization for a long, long time to come. I mean, there's not many quote franchise players anymore. Ramirez is, one, but man, yeah, that would be sweet to have him there for long term. We'll see, brother. What else do we have on the agenda here today? Oh, I'll tell you a couple of little things. One, like I said, the discussions were interesting with some of these players last night, and they're I don't know. Never mind. I'll come back to it. We'll do that in another show. But it is interesting nonetheless. We've got a lot of things going on. We've had some women on the show in the past, and I had Brian Woodward on recently, and we're talking about everything coming up in July up around Rockford and Springfield. And women's pro baseball is going to be coming up in July with their league. This, today's Tuesday, St. Patrick's Day. And then tomorrow I am heading down to Fort Myers to watch the Women's Pro Baseball League. It's not professional, the word is pro. There's probably some copyright Avengers with a Z, but the, they're it is going to be fantastic. A lot of great players down there. I hope to get interviews with a lot of them. And there's a lot of passion about this. And I'll tell you the encouraging part about this. I mean, I'm always a little skeptical with a new league or something, but I start seeing names like Dick's Sporting Goods and other, coming in after one after another and then another. And I think, okay, if we're seeing this kind of sponsorship, then the vitality, the potential to make sure there's something that's going to happen will be there. So it's
Yeah.
going to be up to all those great women and to make this into something that in July captures people's attention and keeps them there. So I'm looking forward to that. And going back to speaking about Rockford and Springfield as well, the USA Women's National Team is going to have their stage here now, just like the USA Women's National Baseball Team played in Thunder Bay in the past, that is now going to be in Rockford, Illinois, which is home of the Rockford Peaches
Mhm.
at Byers Field there. And it's interesting because you're seeing the history of the past touching with what's being evolving now with women's baseball. It's a very, very exciting time. But as long as I'm rambling about women in baseball, I've been working on this one piece on Sonaida Shushu Worth, and it's interesting. Pardon me. This young lady, when she signed on with the South Bend Blue Sox, her rookie year, she stole 89 bases. And it's like, wow. So I look more and more about what she has done prior to that. So I see whether she's playing volleyball. She played softball for several different teams. And then I find her on a basketball team, this little 5 foot woman. And I see this one other player's name, Margaret Magadan. Like, I said, wait a minute. She became Margaret Pinella. Oh, she became Lou Pinella's mom. And you see these connections, and that's one of the things about living here in the Tampa area. You find one athlete, it's amazing where you'll see the connections here, there, and everywhere. But it's been interesting last week for me doing that kind of research, and I can't wait to have it put together in something solid where I can share with everybody. So we'll see how it comes.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, the links, it reminds me of all the trade trees. Like the links between players and coaches and events and everything else is ridiculous in
Oh,
baseball.
it is. I mean, there's so many we can connect. I'll just mention one more that Dwight Gooden, who grew up in Belmont Heights, his nephew's 4 years younger than him, Gary Sheffield. They grew up in the same household. Gary Sheffield, you'll find also on back in the 1980s was on a little league team that went to the World Series. Yeah. He's got, if I'd gone, I think I told you before, I went up into the stands over Jesuit High School. I'd look up in there and I'd see Doug Wechter, who former pitcher of the Rays, and I'd see Gary Sheffield, both looking at the field with their own children out there playing the game. And that is another reason why Tampa looks there sometimes more than they look for a major league professional baseball league. Tampanians who've been here for a while. Me, I'm still a transplant, but only been here 20 years. So yeah,
That's
yeah,
probably long enough though, Mark.
yeah, it probably is. But it's just been a lot of fun with this. And we've got some help tonight, man. He's not here right now, but our good friend Lou Schiff is traveling to Miami, actually lives in Miami, to the stadium. And he's going to give us at least maybe a short report or a taste of the vibe of what it's like. And coming back to the World Baseball Classic, I was looking at some numbers, Matt, as far as the census. And you cannot imagine if you're trying to find Latins, Hispanic in Tampa, it's strong. You probably got about 27% or more. You can pretty much double or triple that if you're going to be in Miami.
Mhm.
So the passion for these teams, these Latin American teams, whether it be I can't speak, Venezuela or Dominican Republic, Cuba, whatever, there is that it any other team that comes up against them in there, it is hard for them. Now, it's going to be interesting now to see how it goes with Venezuela and the U.S. tonight. But I can tell you there'll be plenty of people in there loud for both teams.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game. I hope it's not a blowout either way, and it's close enough that both teams are in it to the end, and that fans get, a good show. I think you've got, obviously more star names on the US side than you do on Venezuela's, but Venezuela has an outstanding team, and then, as we've seen with a lot of these games, it comes down to the pitching.
Yeah.
Like I would say overall, Japan's pitching underperformed. Canada's pitching overperformed. Italy's pitching overperformed. So you're seeing a lot of the impacts that the pitching can have in each game. And so if Venezuela's pitching comes through and the US, which are missing Tariq Skubal, which was supposed to be the guy that they
Right.
counted on, will that come back to haunt them? We'll see. But I think there's going to be a good storyline either way. Either way, it's going to go down as a positive World Baseball Classic, and it's going to be a nice step forward for 2029. So I'm really happy, and I hope Lou has a good time. He doesn't, get too many beers spilt on him when, when things happen. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say.
Yeah, he's got the primo seats, man. I mean, I got some from him a couple years back, and he's like 3 rows back from the dugout, the visitors' dugout. So I got to see back then it was Ozzie Timmons and all the rest of the pitch coach trying to get everything going. He'll have a great time. And I'll throw one more at you from that meeting last night. DeRozan's been getting some grief because of how he measured what the value of some of the games and what was going to be needed to be in there. So people were tossing around, who should have been the manager for the team for the U.S. And one of the names that came out, and it wasn't surprising because he's beloved around here, was Joe Madden. And I thought, that this it's really good. I mean, to see great talent to bring it back in with something like that. And in a sense, like somebody who is a manager of a World Baseball Classic team doesn't have to deal with the front office for 162 games plus each year. You know, I love to see Pujols up here, man, as a manager, seeing great talent like that. To me, that's as exciting as anything else. To see new managers like him also. So I don't know. We'll see what the future holds. And I do want to put tip of the hat too to Canada because they did fantastic. A young
Yeah.
team, a lot of future there. It looks like to me.
Yeah, it's too bad Freddie Freeman couldn't have been there because I think he could have been a difference maker in that last game.
No
Uh,
doubt.
but their pitching is going to be better even. There was a few pitchers that didn't come to this classic that could have played, but they were trying to earn spots on their teams,
Yeah.
and they felt like it made more sense for them to stay there. There was that shortstop from Detroit as well, who I think will be a great. So Canada's in a really solid place. Yes, they have some aging players that are gonna need to get replaced, like James Paxton and a few others, probably before the next classic. But I think they're in a really strong spot. They're starting to get more minor leaguers coming through that are gonna chip in later on. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what the rules look like in the next baseball classic because we've already seen the ABS, right? And I was watching today. There was 5 challenges. The players won 4 out of 6. Or sorry, there was 6 challenges. They won 4 out of 6. And the speed that they're happening at is it's insane to me that you do it's almost seamless and it tempers your anger. Like it gets your anger down right away. Like it's just like, oh, yep, the ump got it wrong. We roll on and we move on. Like there's no harping on the fact that the umpire was wrong. He basically gets absolved of the decision and the game moves on. Literally, like there was one call that was off. Ryan Velade was running towards first base and like as if he had earned a walk. And then the umpire called him out, did a little fancy move for it. Ryan Velade challenged it, got the call right, and then he ran to first base. He got the walk. They moved on, and the game, the flow of it all, Mark, was outstanding. I love it. I think the fact that we're not doing it for every call that gets contended is mystifies me. Why are we limiting it to two? I don't know. But anyways, it leads me to the rule changes that they're putting into the minor leagues. And there's way more of them coming through now. And I think they're getting more calculated in how they're doing them. So in the PCL and the International League, they'll be using different rules as an example so that they can actually weigh, the impact that it has on one league and the impact that it has on another. So in the Pacific Coast League, they'll be able to challenge both strikes and balls and also check swings.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to do that. And now they're making it so it's 45-degree angle. So they've actually measured the thing. And if you've watched video and the link that I sent you has it there,
Yep.
where you it's way further than you would think. Because when you're watching the swings and how quickly players are able to check them, and what they said that they monitored last year at one of the leagues or one of the levels, it led to 3% lower calls against the players than would otherwise have happened because of the 45-degree angle rule. So they're going to do that in the PCL where you can actually challenge both. In the International League, they're only going to allow the balls and strikes to be called.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the difference between the two. And then they're going to look at the data from both and they're going to say, well, is it worthwhile putting in, or are we going too far with this? So it's going to be interesting to see the outcome. But to me, it says like it's the last check before they either put it in or they walk away from it and they just let it be. So there's more ways that they're going to be allowing those challenges to go in below that, like at the A plus level and at the A level. But the other one they're looking at is the pitch clock changes. So they're continuing to tweak those.
Hmm.
And the way they're going to be doing that is by saying, okay, um, a lot of times the catcher will come out and give defensive signals to people, and they used to stop the clock when the catcher
Right.
was doing that. Now they're not going to stop the clock anymore. It's going to basically run as per the last pitch, and then if the catcher wants to go run around and do a lap, he does a lap, but he still has to be back there within that 8-second period. So it's going to tighten up the pitch clock rules a little bit more than it already has. They also are saying that within a certain period of time, when people go to the mound, they have to clear the mound more efficiently. So they've put some rules in how long the pitcher, sorry, the catcher and other players that go onto the mound and the manager or the pitching coach, they need to clear the mound and be off the dirt within a certain period of time. So my point would be more like it seems to me more and more that the umpires are becoming managers of time than actual managers of the game, right? Everything seems to be very tedious in how they need to manage things. So even though we're saying, okay, they're taking away balls and strikes, right? They're taking away the human element. Well, no, they're maintaining the human element because the umpire has to monitor so many different
Yeah.
clocks around. Like they're going to be like that rabbit, in Alice in Wonderland. Like, I'm late, I'm late, I'm late. They're gonna get they're gonna get ripped apart because they missed a clock somewhere. You know, I don't know how they get alerts for that on the field, but it must drive them nuts. Like you can never relax because you're always looking at a clock for something, right?
It's going to be insane. And when you were mentioning that about the check swing, I thought initially when this whole thing was going to roll out, they first talked about the ABS. I thought it was going to be part of it. Uh, but it is, like you said, they got the umps are going to pay more and more attention, and it does seem like it's going to diffuse some things. The whole personality we talked about with Larry about running out to the mound, there's not going to be a need for that because it's guess what? AI says no. AI is the law, baby. AI says that was a strike. Uh, but I would love for AI to be able to be the only thing that detects a balk because
Oh,
I hate balks.
I want to take box right out of the game. Just
Oh,
get rid of
good.
the.
I'm fine with that. I
If
really
they
am.
want to fidget all they want on the mound, go ahead. Fidget, do
Yeah.
fake moves, add to the game, make it interesting. Like, honestly, like we have fakes. We don't say in football, you're not allowed to fake. You got to run straight, right? Like it's part of the game. We used to do the ball trick move, right? You remember, like you throw the ball and the first baseman acts like he's throwing it away
Yeah.
to somebody else, and then he keeps the ball in his glove. Well, that's legal. So why can't you fake if you're on the mound? If the runner wants to go, then they're adding so many rules to help the runners out. Like help the other ones make it more interesting too. It'll be a highlight somewhere and people will focus on it. That's okay. I hate the balk rule as much as you do.
Yeah.
But on that point, they're also adding hitter disengagement rules as
Mm.
well. And they're modified at each level. So I'll just run through them quick. So in double A and triple A, when a batter requests time, the home plate umpire grants the time, points to the batter, then automatically resets the clock, right? So the batter has to go back. So that's as per normal, basically. Like there's no changes there. But in high A, the batter will only be permitted to request time if there's runners on base. If there's nobody on base, he doesn't get the call, unless there's an equipment issue or something, like something falling off, or, they get dust in the eyes sometimes or whatever. Yeah, I think those would be allowed, but it'll be up to the umpire to decide, basically. And then at the low A level, they're not going to be able to permit time at all. That's going to be it. Basically you're in the box, you're in the box. So it'll be interesting to see which one of those move up next year, like in
Yeah.
2027, like to see what they come out with. But I do agree that hitters, especially in tense situations, are using the disengagement one to mess around, like almost like icing the kicker, right? It's the same kind of thing where they're purposely taking that time to ice the pitcher, and it hurts the flow of the game
Yep.
really a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see. That's one I could see them actually adding in at some point. There's values to it and there's knocks against it. Like some people could say you should be allowed to ice the kicker. Other people would say, well, just let him go through with it and mess it up if he will or won't. Like, why add a moment of anxiousness? So I don't know. That one's kind of will it go one way or the
Yeah.
other? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because they're trying to make the game, I know, faster, quote, more entertaining. I would like to see what Yandy Diaz, the amount of time he spent at a plate per pitch compared to 5 years ago and what it is today and what that may look like later because Yandy was certainly the guy who would step out of the box multiple times or whatever and part of me was amused by it but the other part saying well I'd like to get on with it, man. Come on, it's coming up on midnight and no man's got to be in bed an hour ago.
Mm.
But I don't know. Change is good, I guess, but sometimes it does feel like it steals a bit of the color of the game, and the nuances of disagreement. That's to me that's part of baseball. It's baseball.
Yeah. And the worst one of it all, Mark, is they're moving second base.
Oh, okay. That one I read. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. That one, no. Okay. The others I can be. That one. Go ahead and tell him it because I can't even believe
That's
it.
a Rob Manfred rule right there.
Yeah.
So to encourage more action on the bases, the International League second base will be placed, and International League, for people who don't know, is AAA, and it's one half of AAA. It'll be placed entirely within the perimeter of the infield diamond. So what that means is basically you're going to be making the distance between first base and second base 9 inches shorter,
Yeah.
and the distance between second base and third base 9 inches shorter. So essentially, what it's going to mean is every single player on the field will be a base stealer. It'll make the arm of the catcher meaningless. It'll make every statistic in terms of stolen bases
Yep.
and meaningless. I don't understand it. I don't agree with it. I think my idea of incentivizing stolen bases by
Yeah.
monetizing it is
Thank you.
way better than changing the. I mean, it's going to be an oblate diamond now. Is that what we're going to call it? Like
I don't know, but they ought to take the golden bat in that second base and give him Mr. Manfred and find the place where to put him, and it
I
ain't on the
heard,
field.
every time you steal a base, you'll get a little star next to your name. It'll be signed by Rob Manfred himself. He'll come over and he'll put it on the Bristol board and he'll write, "Congratulations for getting your fat ass to second base."
Oh my gosh,
I could
I
not
love
be
it.
more
I love it.
discouraged about that, Mark. You know, there's just a time when professional athletes need to recognize that they are not learning the right things. They're not applying themselves to do the right things. The bases were fine in the 80s and people were stealing hundreds of them.
Yep.
Vince Coleman stole over 100. Chandler Simpson could steal 100 right now. You need to highlight the skill and value of those players and reflect it. You don't make it easier so that everybody can achieve it. That doesn't make any sense. What are they going to do now? Move the fences in 20 feet all over the major leagues just so that Chandler Simpson can hit 30 home runs? Like, really, if we're going to make everybody a base stealer, we should also make Chandler Simpson a home run hitter,
Jeez.
right? It goes both
Yeah.
ways. So lower the fences, make them 3 feet high, and bring them in 20 feet.
Jeez.
You know,
It'll be like, the little 6-year-old YMCA team, and everybody's a winner, and everybody gets a trophy and a slice of pizza at the end of the year. It's like, come on, man. Oh, come
I
on.
That's the one
Jeez.
what I'm like, I hope it goes nowhere. And it better go nowhere. I don't even like the bigger bases already. I'm already sickened by that. Like, never mind, moving second base.
Well, I mean,
I,
you were talking a lot. You were talking a couple of years ago, the whole thing with what happened with Ricky Henderson. What happens with everything that he achieved? It's immeasurable. It's a whole new beast now. You can't hold them side by side to have certain expectations. Ah,
yep. I honestly think, like, if ever we get the right commissioner in Major League Baseball, what I would like to see is some sort of measurement that first of all goes back to a lot of the historical aspects of baseball, of its being of certain dimensions, etc. But I would like somebody to actually also look at it and say, okay, if I hit a ball at a 9-degree angle at this exit velocity, it should result in this, right? In terms of a home run, in terms of the foul line areas, etc. And try to, as much as possible. I know it's not doable across the board, but as much as possible to make it even from city to city and location to location so that if you're drafted by or brought into any organization, you're measured by the same kinds of performance incentives as possible. So, the whole humidor thing in Colorado was meant to bring everything down to the level that, you would expect at most other stadiums. It was an example of doing that kind of work, right? The the fence changes that they went through in Baltimore, even though they were quirky and messy as heck, and they keep playing around with them, like their intention is to try to make sure that they're more evened out than they used to be. So my point would just be like, if you're gonna have a professional sport, like imagine this, imagine a soccer field, right? Where you're like, you know what, we're gonna have it different. We're gonna put ours on a tilt from one side of the field to the other at this angle because we feel like that would be fun. And we just want to make it different. We're going to shorten it. We're going to put, a pentagon style corner in this side, and it's going to be different. But you're going to be fine. You're all playing in the same conditions on that field. You don't worry about it. Oh, by the way, on this one, we're going to have the line on, you know. it gets to be ridiculous. Like at some point in line, you have to be a league with dimensions that make sense across the board. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No. No, some people need to check their medication or come up with these rules is all I got to say, because it gets to be a little goofy at best. And it just changes the game into something else. I mean, the, there's, there's vintage baseball leagues where they have a ball full of feathers and orange peels. And I'm not saying that we need to stay that antiquated with whatever baseball is, but good Lord. I'm just, yeah. Well, Matt, I tell you what, where
I
do we?
encourage people to email, write Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred with their better ideas and make their voices heard. Because, if you enjoy the game the way it is, you should definitely have a say and let them know what your thoughts are on these rule changes, what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see. Like be boisterous and vocal because I feel like the more we do that, the more we get what we want out of it.
Yeah. Yep. Come on, fans, speak up, and once again, thank Mr. Jesse Cole for fans first philosophy. Let's make sure that MLB picks that up too. We don't need bananas, but we need the love of MLB to love their fans. So, all righty. Well, Matt, another fun day come and gone, and can't wait to get a few words from Lou. We'll add that to the show here in a bit, and otherwise, we'll get together next week, my friend.
Sounds good. Have a good one, Mark, and enjoy
Yep.
the end of spring training before the season begins.
Oh
It's
yeah.
around the corner.
What do you have up there on the Rays game? You still got that up? Rays
Yeah,
Yankees.
the Yankees won 3-2.
Ah, bah, bah. All right, everybody. Thank you all again for joining us today, and we'll talk with you again real soon.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Hopefully the Rays are I have a good feeling.
If you enjoyed this show, go ahead, like and subscribe to Baseball Biz on Deck. You may also find Baseball Biz on Deck on YouTube at iHeartApple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and at baseballbizondeck.com. Also, you can find Matt at matgermain.bskysocial. That's Matt at matgermain.bskysocial, or Mark at baseballbizondeck.bskysocial and Baseball Biz on Deck with Facebook. Special thanks to XTakeRUX for the music rocking forward.
It is more than 3 hours before first pitch, and this is the line of fans waiting to get into the ballpark. 3 hours before first pitch, the line of fans waiting to get in right now. And it just keeps going.